Welcome to Architect of Tomorrow. We don't just write code here, we design the systems that run the world.
So you're great at your job. You can build features, you can squash bugs, and you can ship code like nobody's business. But what's next? Today, we're diving into that radical shift in thinking you have to make to go from being a great developer to a truly visionary architect. We're talking about someone who isn't just building for today, but designing for a decade from now. All right, here's the game plan. We're going to start with that tunnel vision that, let's be honest, every single developer has. Then we'll talk about the one question that can completely change the game and force you to zoom out. And finally, we'll get into the practical mindset shifts that'll help you build your own blueprint to become an architect yourself. You know, most of us start our careers deep in the trenches, right? The mission is super clear: grab a ticket from the board, write the code, ship it, and then grab the next one. It's this relentless, fast-paced cycle of just implementing. And it's where we really sharpen our skills. I love this quote. Code solves problems, architecture prevents them. It really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? As developers, we become experts at solving today's problems right now. But architects, they're trying to prevent the problems of tomorrow. And look, this heads-down, straight-line process is amazing for speed. You get the requirements, you write your logic, you ship. Boom, done. But that's speed. It creates this intense tunnel vision. You're so focused on the immediate fix that you just don't see the complexity and the technical debt that's piling up all around you. Yeah, one architect put it perfectly. He called it an anxiety to just start coding. And we've all felt that, right? It's that magnetic pull to just open the code editor, where we're comfortable, but it can totally blind you to the bigger strategic picture, to how your tiny piece of the puzzle actually fits into everything else. But then, for a lot of us, there's this one moment, often just a single question, that completely shatters that implementation-first mindset. It's the spark that forces you to see your work in a whole new light. So, picture this. You've just finished a piece of code, and you are so proud of it. I mean, it is elegant, it checks every box in the requirements, and it works perfectly for today. You show it to a senior engineer expecting a high five, and instead, they just look at it for a second and ask, what problem is this code trying to solve in 5 years? Whoa, that question just changes everything. All of a sudden, the conversation isn't about how clean your code is today. It's about its durability, its ability to adapt, and its ripple effect across the entire system for years to come. And this is really the birth of what we can call temporal thinking. See, the jump to an architect's mindset isn't about learning some new, complicated framework. It's about learning to see your own work through the lens of time. It's about designing systems that can bend and evolve for a future you can't even fully predict yet. So, how does this new way of thinking actually play out day to day? Let's break down some of the biggest mindset shifts that really separate a senior developer from a true architect. Okay, first up, perspective. Where a developer sees lines of code, an architect sees the invisible connections between the code. They're zooming way out to map how all the pieces behave and interact. How do these services talk to each other? How does data flow through the whole system? And, most importantly, where are things going to break? Next, the goal. Developers are often searching for the one right technical answer. But architects, they live in a world of gray. They know there's almost never a perfect solution. Every single choice is a calculated trade-off. Is it cheap? Is it fast? Is it secure? Their job isn't to be right, it's to find the best possible compromise, and then explain that compromise clearly to everyone. Then there's the timescale. For a lot of developers, launch day feels like the finish line. Woohoo, we're done. But for an architect, that's just the starting gun. They're already thinking about the entire life cycle. What happens on day 2? How are we going to monitor this thing? How do we maintain it? And how are we eventually going to retire it gracefully years from now? And this one might be the most important shift of all. As an architect, your primary tools change. Code isn't your main lever of influence anymore. Your real power comes from clear diagrams, well-argued documents, and your ability to get people to agree in a meeting. Essentially, your keyboard gets replaced by the whiteboard. So all of these shifts, they all point to one core skill, the ability to stop staring at the individual trees and finally see the entire forest. This is the art of thinking in systems. And I want to be clear, real architecture isn't just some messy boxes and arrows you scribbled on a napkin. It is a formal discipline. Architects use standardized models, like what you see here, to create a shared map of the entire system, a map that connects the big picture business mission all the way down to the individual components that make it happen. And that's why collaboration is it's non-negotiable. I mean, look at this. When you ask architects why those whiteboard meetings are so important, what are the top answers? Defining the high-level architecture and hashing out how all the different parts will work together. It's all about building that shared understanding before a single line of code gets written. When you look at what an architect actually does all day, their core job is to be a bridge. They stand right in the middle between the world of business goals and the world of technical implementation. They translate strategy into a concrete blueprint that gives the engineering team a clear, stable path forward. Okay, so you're probably fired up, right? But you're thinking, how do I actually start building this mindset today in my current role without getting a new title? Well, it starts with 5 really concrete actions. First, draw more diagrams. Seriously, stop thinking in lines of code and start visualizing data flows. Second, find a mentor, someone who has already walked this path. Third, build your network and learn from what others are doing. Fourth, study system designs. Take apart complex systems in your head and figure out how they were built. And finally, you have to never stop learning because the technology landscape is always changing. In the end, it really all comes back to this one single, powerful question. Are you building a feature for today, or are you building a foundation for tomorrow? The moment you start asking yourself that about every piece of code you write, you're not just a developer anymore. You're starting to think like an architect. You're not just closing today's ticket, you're building the future.